3. How did the perception of crime reinforce social labels and stereotypes in the society? What mass media puts out for the viewers to read and hear has a big thing to do when it comes to misjudgment. Discrimination and misconception is a major to the minority group compared to the majority. According to an article by Nazgul Glunash, many media outlets reinforce the public racial misconceptions about crime by presenting African Americans and Latinos differently than whites, both quantity and qualitatively. Television news programs and newspapers overrepresent racial minorities as crime suspects and whites as the crime victims. Black and Latino suspects are also more likely than whites to be presented in a non-individualized and threatening way, unarmed and in police custody. When it comes to African Americans, it has a negative, or when it comes to the minority group, it has a negative cognitive towards the social labels and stereotypes in the media eyes, which goes into society compared to the white people. Due to stereotypes towards minorities such as Isaiah, there's a story that leads to this. The video shows the story was a stereotype and label following in this society because minorities have a negative things attached to them. To the researcher, Carpenter said this dynamic has occurred repeatedly over time when images of black attaches the labels of inhumanity, immorality, immaturity, hypersexuality, and so forth were used just to justify slavery. These labels have negative effects on the group as a whole because the perception they have on them leads to incidents such as this young kid Isaiah was unarmed because of these unarmed that follows a teen reaching for his pant to hold up his pants and got him shot and killed. As the video goes on, the officer treats this kid less than a human. The kid was lifeless, laying down on the floor, and the officer continues to handcuff him as if he is a threat to them. The officer who took the shot used the same excuse that he was in fear for his life because the child supposedly reached for his waistband. Just because of the waistband got this kid shot and killed. How was that going for the fear of his life trying to hold up his pants? Because if it was a white kid, the officer would have used not felt so threatened, would have used a less lethal force such as a taser to just stop him from running. What was the difference of using a taser? Another officer was already hopping the fence and was close enough to be able to use a taser. Instead, the officer jumped to conclusion and used lethal force just to take away an innocent 16-year-old's life. In society's eyes, the minority group are labeled as bad and up to no good, out for harm and hurt, out to hurt people. And the whites are labeled if they mess up or do something inhumane, then something obviously has to be wrong with them. They need help. They're sick. Instead of prison, they need medical help. They need to be checked into an institution. But when it comes to the minorities, throw them in the jails and let them rot in there, as if they're not as humane as the white people, when in reality the perception of the two groups is the reason being for the labels and stereotypes in today's society.